Before we begin, please be advised that this show may contain some adult themes and language that may not be suitable for all listeners. Now, onto our show. Welcome to the Sip and Saga Society, where we cover histories, mysteries, and overall weird ass shit. My name is Karina, and joining us today we have Christina and Nevada. Woo! um, Christina, I saw your beverage, and I want to know what it is. It
It's a
looked cool.
coffee. Oh, thanks. I like to, I don't know, make myself feel bougie. And so I got um chocolate like syrup and I put it around my glass and I just made my iced coffee. I got a cold brew. It's like creme brulee flavored coffee. And then I do my almond joy creamer, my
Mm.
sweet cream cold foam. But the chocolate that I the chocolate syrup that's in my cup is actually the ice cream chocolate hard shell. And I'm late to the game, but I saw like months ago on TikTok when everyone was making or like they went to a place where they had plastic cups and it had a hard shell. And basically you like crush your cup and like the hard shell like breaks inside of your drink and it's all cool. I haven't tried it yet, but that's my goal to do that
Is
for
it
the
supposed to
festive season.
taste good? Like better?
I don't think so. I think it's just an aesthetic thing, honestly. I mean,
Uh,
other than make your like coffee or whatever beverage like chocolatey.
chocolatey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
it's cool to see like because the cup is like solid, and then when you crush it, like if it's
Uh,
thick enough, when you crush it, it like breaks, and you can see all the coffee and stuff like
Oh
kind of
yeah, that
seep
sounds
through.
like it'd be pretty.
So, but yeah, I'm drinking coffee, and then I'm already like almost halfway done with this, and then I have a Coke Zero.
I
So
love
that
Coke
is what
Zero.
I am sipping.
Coke Zero is one of my
Oh,
favorites.
I love it.
I don't know why. I'm like, I know, anyway. Okay, Nev, what about you?
Today I have the bubbler. Okay. It is
Ooh.
sparkling water, but it boosts and energizes and restores balance. It's
I
also
love
mango
that.
flavored, and I don't like mango, so we'll see how that goes. But I also have water.
Okay. I have three beverages. So I have an electrolyte water and then regular water. And then I have a blood orange margarita mix that I am drinking. Oh,
Oh,
Nev,
talk about a holy trinity.
you do not like that one.
She don't like it.
It's blood orange mango, but the aftertaste is like the smell of kitty litter.
Okay, but why do we all have blood mango or blood orange? That's funny.
Uh, it's a pattern.
So, the topic today that I changed last minute for my own enjoyment. The topic today is the Countess Elizabeth Bathory. And I don't know if you guys have heard of her.
Wait, who?
No.
Elizabeth Bathory.
No.
It's going to be an adventure today.
Yay.
If you
The way
need
that you
substances,
start things off like that, I'm not ready. Just so you
no,
know.
no, I'm telling, that's why I start. Okay. I always give, we have our pre-recorded warning at the beginning, but this episode for sure is a little bit more graphic than our normal ones. And I definitely would recommend that if it's, is not, if you're not feeling it today, just don't. Um, but it is a very kind of fascinating story. So for October, I wanted to do something spooky, something weird. And I decided to, like, everyone knows Dracula because he
Yeah.
like tortured people. So I would probably say this is like the female equivalent of Dracula, is what I would say. Because she comes from the same area. They come from Hungary. So it's gonna be an interesting story. And this is a little bit after Vlad the Impaler. So the resource I got was a book on Kindle Unlimited. It's Countess Elizabeth Bathory by Charles River Editors. And I was kind of curious about that, but Charles River Editors is a company that works on creating original writing pieces of digital content that they put out for people to, like as resources for people to use. The sources for this book range from various areas, including historical and analysis, as well as biographies and diaries found throughout the ages. Novels have been written about Elizabeth, and often they combine fact with fiction, and then, they make it a little more dramatic. You add some crazy stuff to make people more interested in your novel. Most people haven't heard of Elizabeth Bathory, but after hearing this story, you may not be able to forget her.
Should I put up my chicharrones
No, I don't
for
care.
this?
I don't know your life, Christina.
Well, I mean, can I stomach what will be going on?
I don't know how you feel.
That is not helpful. We'll see. I'll keep snacking until I feel like I can't anymore.
Oh, okay. Healthy. Well, at least for the beginning, I'll just be covering her like early years and stuff, so it doesn't get too graphic.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
I'm ready.
so you got time. Elizabeth was born in 1560 or 1561 in Hungary, spending her childhood in Exed Castle to her parents, George and Anna. Both parents were descendants from nobility, both in Hungary and Transylvania. The family had four children: Istan, who went mad at an early age, which I was like, thank you for
That's
emphasizing.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Clara, Sophia, and Elizabeth. Her father, George, died when she was 10. But just before he died, the family had betrothed Elizabeth to Ferenc Nadizdiz. I can't say any of these names. Her life was mostly controlled by both her own family and her future husband's family. She basically like lived her childhood with her mother-in-law,
Hmm.
and her mother-in-law made her do everything.
To raise her to be a good wife.
Yep. For centuries, the Bathories had married within their family in order to not change the family traits. But all the inbreeding led to genetic problems. Shocking.
Yeah.
They
And
lived,
sterilization?
no,
No. It always ends up with that, I feel like, though.
I don't think so. I think it just ends in terrible chins. They they lived in homes that were not lavish palaces, but fortresses spread across Hungary, Wallachia, and Transylvania. The family was known for their bravery, with Bathory meant brave in Hungarian. And also they had problems with sanity. That was the other thing they were known for, being
With
crazy.
what? Oh,
Sanity.
crazy. Vanity. Okay.
Her education was supervised by the mother of her betrothed, Orsolia. That's her name. She was introduced as a young girl to religious readings and daily chores such as ironing and folding clothes. The worst of the chores.
Okay, Cinderella.
I mean, yeah, I know. She very dramatic. Elizabeth was ready to get married and GTFO to escape her mother-in-law, which like I don't blame her. It sounds like her mother-in-law was
Yeah.
like always telling her what to do.
The worst.
I know. Elizabeth was married when both her and Ferenc were 14 years old on May 8th, 1575.
Well, at least they were both the same age.
Yeah. At least it wasn't like he's 84 and she's 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm. Her husband had gifted her a castle, and the estate came with the castle, a country house, and 17 villages.
Dang.
The castle was also surrounded by a village as well as agricultural fields where the castle would get their produce. Lovely. But also, when Elizabeth was 13, she became pregnant. Y'all remember she wasn't married until she was 14.
Wait.
But it was not by Ferenc. It was by a male servant of one of the castles. Her future husband took care of the servant by castrating him and then
Good.
throwing him to get eaten alive by dogs.
Good.
Wait, did she? I'm assuming because she's only 13, like obviously, like, is it, was she like assaulted
I
technically?
don't know. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Because then the book goes on about how, like, literally, it goes on. I don't think I covered this about how, like, she had promiscuity problems and she probably learned it from her aunt and her mom. So who knows? They were like, yeah, she used her erotic nature
To
as a
seduce grown
weapon,
men?
I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
The book
Interesting.
emphasizes that watching her husband or her lover, I guess, die like this was probably traumatic to her. Yeah, no duh.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. She's kind of a weirdo. She,
I need
she
to
even,
know. I need to know more about her first before I make this decision.
yeah, we can't decide
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
like her or
yeah.
not. She eventually gave birth to a daughter, but no records remain after the recording of her birth because Ferenc wanted it to remain a secret. So some people suspect that the baby was killed, which, like, I could see
Oh,
that happening. I mean, he
oh
literally
yeah.
fed someone to a dog.
Yeah. I mean,
Sent her to the nunnery. That's what they
Hmm.
used to do.
I mean, she could be at the nunnery, but she's not doing much there.
Like when you send your dog to the farm, or your
That's
parents
very
do.
sad. My
Yeah.
parents never did that. They'd be like, "Why are you crying?" It was 10 years before Elizabeth would have another child. She had three daughters and two sons, but was not very involved in raising them, and they were raised by governesses. Surprising and shocking. She literally was like, I don't want to have kids.
I just
But
want to have sex.
that's different.
She would have loved birth control.
She would have loved right now, living her
Yeah,
best life. And
really.
maybe even some, antidepressants or like lithium or something.
Lithium. That's a good one,
Maybe
I've
some
heard.
help.
maybe some help. I mean, I'm laughing, but honestly,
This margarita is good, if anyone
it
wondered.
looks like you're making it look good. The
I
color
was
looks
like,
real pretty.
you
Well, I
read our
wanted to
minds.
do a red and it's blood orange, so I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, it looks real good.
And I didn't want to do a red wine because I don't like red wine.
Yeah, fair.
I
Hmm.
have a red wine that I actually enjoy very much.
Oh,
Which
send
one
it to
is
me.
it?
I think it's the Stella Rosa,
Oh, the
That
Stella
makes
Rosa
sense.
is
and it's the Stella something, but it's really good.
the
Is it the
Stella Rosa
black?
black is
I think
So
that's what it
good.
is. Yeah, or Stella
So
Rosa,
good.
I think was the yeah, super.
I was between this one and the Stella Rosa red because I wanted to try the red. And I figured
Hmm.
trying it would be cool. But I really wanted to do blood orange for obvi reasons. No, it gets better. We get better.
It gets, are you sure? Because the last one, you had me on an emotional roller
Oh,
coaster. Cody actually just came over and he was like, I cried actually on that one. I cried a little bit
no!
and he was like, I teared up. I was like, Cody.
Well, if you want to feel extra sad, reading the book Miracle in the Andes by Nando Pareto is depressing.
Yeah,
And don't
I
read it
love
on a
that.
do not read it on a plane. It is a bad decision. Not that one of us has done it, but I did do that.
Oh
Anyway,
no.
anywho, so while Elizabeth's husband was at war, she was at home managing the estate, where she was in charge of providing food, work, and even medical care if needed to the people of the village and the people under her care. Elizabeth had hobbies and she enjoyed horse riding, picnics, hunting, and reading. But that's not what we're talking about her today. So her
We don't care
hun
about our hobbies.
well, we'd care about some of her hobbies. Ferenc died when he was 48 on January 4th, 1604, of unknown illness, through which Elizabeth cared for her husband until he died. But when he died, he gave responsibility of his family, including his wife, to Georgi Thurzo. I don't think you're supposed to say it like that, but that's how I'm saying
Isn't
it.
that weird though that like you as a wife were in the will and it was like now you belong to this person. You are his
Literally, I felt the same
responsibility.
way. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
I'm not a fucking
You,
pet.
well, I mean, in this time you were. You were basically a
Yeah.
cow made to have children, and that's it.
Yep, you're right.
Hmm. A cow.
I like being a pet
Yeah,
in
but I don't,
modern times, but not
yeah, not in then, no.
not at that times.
So this is if you follow my Snapchat, this is my WTF are you doing, Loca?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I saw that.
I amuse myself. Anyway, so this is when we talk about Elizabeth's promiscuity. Elizabeth had a
Yes.
lot of influences that historians believe played a big role in her life and her personality as well as behaviors later down the line. She had an aunt named Clara who was engaged in witchcraft, torture, and bisexuality. And I was like,
Ooh,
I
my type
know.
of girl.
Nev.
Like that's
Nev
2/3 of
fun.
the podcast.
She needs some friends.
She was believed to have countless lovers until she was caught and her lover was burned at the stake
Not her though.
and she was raped and then she was staked also. So,
Oh, they did her like that?
yuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the other way would be frowned upon. You can't rape a corpse. That's weird, of course.
Mm, that is
You know,
weird.
you
Yeah.
know.
We have to do things in order.
I just thought they would have just burned her, I guess is what I mean. Like I didn't feel like the rape
No,
was
we have morals
necessary.
here.
No, they raped her in
Clearly.
front of like in the public, in front of everybody.
Oh,
Like while
That's
he was being like burned at the stake in front of everybody.
that's crazy, but would be great in a movie, like a horror
Yeah,
movie.
no, well, that's why I picked this
man, if I
topic
was
because it
her, I
was
just
so
would have
messed
acted
up.
like I enjoyed it. May as well put on a show for everyone.
The
I,
issue is I probably would have a little bit.
I don't know because her lover was being burned at the stake. I feel
Yeah,
She
like,
had
that's
a
really
lot of
heavy.
lovers though. I don't know.
I guess, whatever. Until we are in that situation, we do not know. And
We
Yeah,
do not
that's all
know.
we can say.
I don't want to be in that situation.
Me either. I'm good. I'm
I'm
actually
good.
good.
Yeah.
I like being a modern woman.
Elizabeth was not bothered by what happened to her aunt. She even seemed to enjoy the stories her husband would tell her about how he killed people in battle. So that's cool.
Oh, so she's already a little.
She's been,
The help,
oh
like
no,
you said, it
we're
would have been
gonna
nice if she
cover,
had some help.
we're gonna
Is she
cover her,
inbred too?
yes, because her
Yeah.
family just within each other.
But they weren't royalty, which is also fucking weird.
No, they are royalty.
Oh, but they
Yeah,
have nothing. They're poor.
no, they're rich people. They live in a
Oh,
castle. She
I
has
thought they did.
17 villages.
I know she has villages, but I thought you said that their houses weren't like castles, but they were
No, they
spread
were
out.
fortresses because
Oh,
they were a war kind of country. There
okay.
was,
Thank you.
I left it out, but there was a lot of like um turmoil right now, religious
Okay.
turmoil. It was like between the Catholics and the Protestants, and there was a lot of
Oh, yeah.
fighting and
Yeah.
and also it's like Transylvania and Hungary. Like there's a lot of, I feel like those countries are never like, I've not heard a normal history story coming from there.
And they're always so aggressive.
Yes, very, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Murder's
um,
fun,
it's a time for people.
you know?
Elizabeth's mother was known to have lovers as well, and when her husband was sick, Elizabeth entered the like so Elizabeth's dad's sick, and
Okay.
Elizabeth enters the room and her mom and her lover, her mom's lover, are together because she was
With,
sleeping with the captain, and so
oh,
Elizabeth walked in on them. And the mom got real mad at her and she told her like she yelled at her or something. But she's also said to have watched a young man sodomize a choir boy, and Elizabeth found it, quote, gratifying towards her own pleasure. Elizabeth is crazy. I said, Weirdo Elizabeth is going to start getting unhinged. But to me, it seems as if Elizabeth has been unhinged up till
unhinged.
now.
She
Mhm.
was born that way, baby.
She,
Maybelline.
she didn't have any other option.
No.
She used to watch the servants be scolded and peasants beaten because she enjoyed it. Like they would literally send her away and she'd be like, actually, I'm staying. I'm going to hang out here.
Shit.
Yeah, she's a weirdo. If animals were sacrificed, she wanted to watch. She was mean towards her own relatives, and she would play with her cousins and offer them thorny branches just to watch, like, just to enjoy watching when the thorns would hit them and they would hurt.
Oh, so she is like really sadistic.
Yes. When she became the wife of Ferenc and the ruler of the estate, she would delight in the ruthless punishment of servants. Once Ferenc came home from battle, he found a young servant tied to a pole naked with her body covered in ants and flies.
That's
Elizabeth
disgusting.
had ordered her to be covered in honey to attract insects, then tied to a pole as punishment for stealing fruit from a room. She would also, just out of boredom, put paper between toes of the servants and light them on fire just to see the women faint. Her husband was disturbed by her behaviors, but he wouldn't stop her. He just thought it was her family genes manifesting. Which, I mean, Christy,
Okay. Let's just justify everything.
that's just her genes.
It's just who she is. Okay. A psycho, but whatever, dude.
Elizabeth does get weirder. And there's a reason we're still
Oh,
talking
okay.
about
Okay.
random, and there's a reason we're still talking about a random noble from Hungary to this day. I wrote these
Share.
sober. Oh no, we're I know. I don't know why
I
that's
don't know if
worse.
I'm ready for this shit.
I hope you finish your chips.
I haven't even eaten another one since we
Um,
started. I've been too intrigued and confused, but
people wonder why she was the way she was. But there were many factors that played into her behavior later in life. Her genetic history seems to play a huge factor, as well as the practices of torture that were normal forms of punishment at the time. Like it is Hungary. Like it
Yeah.
is 1560, like, or whatever, 1400, 1500. Torture including whipping, inserting someone's body into, oh, wait, let me start again. Torture methods, including whipping, as well as inserting someone into a rotting body of an animal, was common.
Hmm.
It's just what you did. Elizabeth was also aware of the legend of Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula, as well as the punishments he inflicted on those who wronged him and failed to obey. She was fascinated by this man and the mystery that surrounded him. Her interest in human blood happened one evening when one of her servants was brushing her hair and accidentally pulled it. She didn't act on the spot. She just like sat there. And for some reason, these weird servants, she's like watching the servants play this game where they're just poking each other with a needle. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who's doing this shit? I've never been like, hey, Christina, let's go stab each other with that needle over there. What a fun little game. Like, I literally wrote, okay, weirdos. Like, all right. So
You had to
Elizabeth, oh, go ahead.
you had to get creative, back then, I
There wasn't,
guess.
they didn't have TV,
No TikTok.
no Monopoly.
Just the actual game of life.
Lit- Life with Elizabeth,
Yep.
Elizabeth, the worst game.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth took the needle and she poked the girl who pulled her hair until she bled. And when her finger started bleeding where Elizabeth poked her, she felt the strong desire to lick the wound. So she did it because she's Elizabeth and she can do whatever she wants. Which she did. She licked it and then she rubbed the blood on her cheeks.
Oh, kinky.
And so from what I remember is like, because I haven't read this story before. I read this book, and from what I remember, people say that like she had the dark red blood on her skin, right? And then she wiped it off, and the skin under was like smooth and like really white and really beautiful. And she was just like, wow, look how great it is.
And
So
then she kept
imagine,
killing virgins.
so imagine if I bathed in the blood instead of just like a little bit. So I think she started out just like a little like face mask business, and then she was like, you know what, sounds like a great idea.
Do you know what?
Dunk it.
Isn't
Kim
wasn't there another
Kardashian
queen?
did something like that.
Who?
Really?
Kim Kardashian, I think it was like some kind of something, but it was some kind of
No,
like
you know
blood,
what? You're right. There is a
um,
blood face mask.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
don't
can
know.
use your period blood if you really are on a budget.
I will not do either, but thank you for your suggestion. I respect your autonomy in this matter.
Wasn't there
Um,
another woman that did that too, like Queen Mary, where she would kill virgin women and like bathe
I
in it
don't,
to keep her young?
I think this is the one who the legend comes from, honestly,
Oh,
because I know that Mary, like the daughter of of King Henry.
maybe. I don't
I don't
know.
know. That's the only one I would think of would be Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
But she was known as Bloody Mary because during this time of religious turmoil, she would burn all the Protestants. And so she's known as Bloody Mary because she killed them.
Mm.
So
Mm.
the lives that she took.
Oh, I know nothing.
I
Mm.
no, we will get to it, but I have a real love of Tudor Plantagenet history for no reason other than I'm obsessed with it. It's hot gossip in my head, and I
I
want to
like
know more.
I like the Tudor like movies and stuff like that. So
It's pretty good. I like it. I like drama though.
I
That's why
like
we're here.
drama. Yep.
I live for the drama. So that was the beginning of her lust for blood, and she became less interested in her job of running the estate and began to focus on the magical and witchcraft practices. She would ask her servant, Jovulia, who was a practitioner of magical practices, to bring her potions to provide her with ecstasy, which who are we to judge, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Some historians say that her psychopathic madness is often unfairly linked to her sexual deviances, but more likely the trauma and turmoil of the time played a huge role combined with her social ranking, allowing her to partake in behavior she would have otherwise not been able to get away with. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
she's rich enough, she is inbred enough, and she is in an era of violence enough to I feel like create the perfect storm of this situation.
I mean, that's what they say about rich people in general. Like, they're saying that basically, like, I saw this thing that was saying that, like, laws don't apply, like, to the rich, if that makes sense. So it's like, if someone, like, if one of us is, like, speeding, the first thing we're going to be like, oh, I can't afford a ticket right now. Basically, the rich is like, I can just pay for the fine. So laws don't apply to me, essentially, because they have so much money. It's just like, wow, like,
Or it doesn't matter if I crash this car because I can
I'll
buy
just
another
get
one.
another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So she was just doing all this. I mean, and who's gonna
Because
stop
she
her?
can, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd do some fucked up shit too if I could get away with it.
I
Yeah.
believe you, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if I had free time, I would continue to just do this. This is the thing.
I don't know, man. I'd do something. I don't
But I
know.
do have road rage. So I
See,
don't know.
you smashed into the back of somebody's car. You'd
I
have
would
your
just
driver do it
I'd buy
because
a faster no, because I couldn't trust anybody to road rage drive like I do. You're not gonna
sometimes I
be
think
angry
about
enough.
smashing into other people's cars because they're so stupid.
I got
It's
in a
never me.
I stared down a lady one time when I was on the phone with my mom, and she was like, "Karina, do not fight an elderly driver." And I was
I had
like,
an
"I'll take her out."
I had an old lady jump out of her car at a stoplight to fight me. So I was 8 months pregnant too. It was
No.
Georgia. Don't mess with Georgia
I could see
grandmas.
that. Yeah, no, Georgia's crazy.
Yeah.
So's Little Rock though.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Little Rock is wild.
Dude, Colton's cousin's wife, that's a lot, had cut somebody off in Joplin and they fucking pulled a gun out and like was like waving it at her. Joplin, of all places.
Mm-mm. When I was in Arkansas, there was a case, or like on the news,
Mm-hmm.
where this like old lady cut off a man, or like he got mad at her for some reason and he shot the car and killed the 2-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
And so after that, I now have like I just from living in the town, I have like that fear. So I will yell at people alone in my car, but I'm not going to get
Yes.
in a fight. I'm not going to argue with you. Like it's not worth it because
Mm-mm.
people are
I want to,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
there's a
like,
guy here in, I think it was Roger, somewhere in Benton County, that like everyone like on the, I think it was like the NWA drivers page and um, like on Facebook. I think it was because I'm part of like Downtown Rogers like page. And basically someone was like, if you see like this guy in this black truck, and I don't know if they gave like the license plate number, but basically they were like, he will like ride your butt. If anything happens, like basically the same thing, like he will hold a gun out his window and threaten you. Like,
bro,
yeah,
That's
it's not
insane.
that serious.
No.
go around me. I don't care. Like, go around me and fuck
Yeah.
off. Like, you know what I mean?
Leave me alone, dude.
Yeah, like,
Jesus.
I'm not gonna deal with your fucking shit, dude. Go be crazy somewhere else.
Or a concept. Go get some therapy. Get you
Crazy.
a Snickers.
Get some help.
Are you hungry? Most of the time people are hungry, yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Like when I'm really mad, I'm like, it's because I'm hungry.
Or sleepy. Or sleepy.
Or,
Hmm.
about to get my period. So,
Or all three. And then
oh,
you just
that's a
start
fun time.
crying.
None of your clothes fit right. Your hair looks dull and nothing is.
And you're breaking out.
Oh,
And
the
someone hugs you
worst.
the wrong way.
Or they.
Karina.
I'm gonna scream. Okay, let's go back to Elizabeth and her sad story. This is shocking. She had sadistic tendencies and initially limited herself to biting and piercing the servants who failed to obey her. That's normal. That's what we do.
That's how
Then,
I punish my servants.
Give
what's
me
that
your
bite
arm.
mark?
Come here.
Let me have it.
Why,
You get a
why
bite
is
now.
you have like 7 bites on your arm? You were real bad this weekend, huh?
Could you imagine? You did this to yourself. I tried to tell you. If you just listen, we won't be here.
Exactly.
Eventually, she got more intense using various contraptions and techniques common at that time. She would use the Iron Maiden, a cage in the shape of a woman which contained daggers inside the cage. So the person would be pierced slowly, and then you would just sit in there until you died. That
How
was like,
fun.
yeah, per usual, as one does. There was
Can't
also
lie, that
death.
cage sounds kind of badass since it's
Christina.
like a lady, you know?
Do you know that they used to have a one for wives, right? Where their tongue, they couldn't use their tongue. It was like a tongue wagging cage. So it only went on their head. And then it had this spike that went into your mouth. And so you couldn't move your tongue. Or if you did, it would pierce through the roof of your mouth. And it was like a full
Oh,
head cage. And you had to wear it in public. And it had a leash. Your husband had to walk you on a
Oh,
leash
how
in public.
embarrassing.
Christina, that's so embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
I'd be so pissed.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'd be livid. I would be
You would
so
be
mad.
wearing that all the time because you're just vocal, Karina.
I would. I would. People would, yeah, they'd be like, of course, she's in the cage again.
Oh, shocked.
If you would get it together, Karina, you wouldn't have to be in the cage, but no.
Could you imagine? Has she gotten it off? No, she's been in it for months.
She was wearing it last month, I tell you. Anyway.
All the gossiping. I heard that she only had it off for 2 hours before they put her back in it. Like,
But you know someone did that. Someone out there did that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, she got more intense. Oh, yes, we did that one. There's also death by water, where the person would be taken outside naked and then have water poured on them until they froze.
oh,
Yeah.
That didn't take long, I imagine.
yeah.
I guess it's Hungary, so I guess it depends what time of year it is.
That's crazy.
She's crazy. She also used branding, piercing, severing body parts. She would get sexual and psychological gratification from this. Not only would torturing her victims alleviate her epileptic seizures, but they would replenish her skin, is what she said.
Her seizures?
Who is the
Yeah.
demon talking to her? I want to know. She's too gullible, dude.
Can you imagine? Listen here, girlfriend. If you do this, this is what you get. This is the
Young
outcome.
forever.
Yeah.
Young forever. Good God.
I think she just was not, working on all crayons.
Yeah,
you know?
nothing, not all of it up there. No, no lights.
Mm-mm. I said in my notes, okay, Elizabeth, sure, keeping it fresh and reasonable. I don't know. I don't know why I feel the need to comment on everything, but here I am.
No, I like the comments. The WTF
It gets
or
me. What
It's
the fuck are you
necessary,
doing,
honestly.
Loca?
Loca. Yeah.
Who's that girl?
It's Elizabeth. Okay, Elizabeth. She was fascinated by the use of blood, and it became a regular practice for her to bathe in it. She grew up in a world where there were stories of the restorative powers of blood. Blood and beauty were combined in many fairy tales and folk sayings. Elizabeth said it would have been surprising if I didn't bathe in blood. Bathing in blood was to acknowledge the reality of time and also how great blood was, apparently. She felt her menstrual blood was a sign of childhood innocence lost, as well as a signal of separation from the world of men. But I feel like that makes sense. Like,
I
because,
vibe with that though.
yeah, because it's
She's,
like, it represents a lot as a
it
woman.
does. She's spitting facts.
Well, and then like as someone who just got her period back, it's like, oh God, this thing, like I hate it. It's annoying me, but also it feels like I'm more connected with my body. You know what I mean?
Me
It's
too.
like
Oh
it's
yeah,
weird, but it's like it's more than just
it is.
blood.
Yes, I agree.
Anyway, her madness, epilepsy, and fits of rage were said to have been exacerbated by the potions given to her by her servant. She was at war with herself and with her ghosts. She began to interpret everything as signs that her demise was coming and demanded more potions so she could get help avoiding her end. So she was like, if I continue taking drugs, I will find the solution that I need.
Oh, so she's going crazy, crazy too.
Mm. Oh, and she's on whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Her servant was Dravelina, who was from Croatia and knew different uses of plants. she would create concoctions which would make Elizabeth have fits and hallucinations. I think in the book it said literally like at a certain point she was just like constantly having these episodes and everyone was just like, give her more drugs. And like that's it. They like, but what are they gonna do? She's the countess. She is the owner of the village. Like, what can you do? You can tell her
Yeah.
what to do? She was also known to be particularly cruel, Dravelina, the servant. Rumors began spreading that she also had her own torture chamber. So the servant had her own chamber, an executioner butcher shop in the wall of the castle, and both owners of the like Ferenc and Elizabeth and her husband knew about this place and would just come and hang out with her in her torture chamber on occasion. We're
Also,
just
she
gonna
likes the special homegirl
mm-hmm.
because she was obviously doing all the stuff for her too. But
Yeah.
dang.
Her own little thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Did she stab that servant too with needles and shit though?
I don't think she did.
Because she was making her all them potions and shit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think she, yeah, I wouldn't be making potions for the people that didn't, you know.
Don't stab your drug dealer.
I mean,
First rule.
Facts. I don't think they'll give you drugs if you stab them. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been to a drug dealer except for the dispensary. That doesn't count. It doesn't. It's like another pharmacy now. You show up, they give you drugs.
Yeah,
I'm not wrong.
they're drug dealers. They deal drugs.
Pharmacy. Anyway, so her servant, Dravelina, also advised the Countess to only choose peasant girls as her victims because they would be able to pay the families off and no parents would ask where their kids were because they're just working for the Countess. So like what are they going to say?
Yeah.
If anyone asked, they would be lied to or told their daughters died of illness.
Yeah.
Eventually, Elizabeth got tired of the peasant girls and began choosing local nobility, which led to her downfall.
Dumb
Nobles,
dumb.
she got
you
cocky.
dumb bitch.
You dumb bitch.
Nobles were typically more vocal and had the money to search for their daughters.
Mm-hmm. So dumb though. Oh my
Mhm.
God. You deserve your downfall at that
She got all
point.
that power in her head. She got entitled. And she was like, I can do anything.
Dumb bitch.
Dumb bitch.
So more and more people began reporting the suspicious events that were happening in the castle. This is where it's about to get more graphic. BT dubs.
Okay.
And eventually, local peasants began hiding young girls from the Countess. You gotta be really fucking up if the local kids are like, hey, let's hide your kid. Let's hide your daughter.
Don't let
Don't
the
give it to this
Countess know.
lady. Yeah.
Around 1603, a Lutheran pastor complained about Elizabeth to aristocrats in Vienna, and eventually, 7 years later, the Hungarian authorities began investigating the case. So you remember the guy that like took over ownership of Elizabeth,
Mm-hmm.
Thurzo? He was the guy that was also in charge of her investigation. Notaries began collecting evidence, and by the end of 1610, had collected 300 signed testimonies from local villagers, priests, noblemen, and even castle staff about Elizabeth and her shenanigans.
It'd
Oh
be
my
your own
God.
people.
I mean, it truly be. Yeah. And also, but you
You
have
know.
17 villages, ma'am. You cannot keep up with everybody.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, honestly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people talk. I mean, once someone, comes out, I mean, there's, was it strength in numbers? So,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because I get like some families, like once your daughter goes. But like, I'm sure there was more than one that was close with their family and would have gone back and at least given them money or helped them out or talked to them again.
hmm
Yep.
yeah.
Like, not everybody has the same family life.
Either that or I'd be like, wow, that Countess house is real fucking dirty. Every time somebody goes in there, they die of sickness.
That is also true.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. So many people can die around. Like, it, okay. If everyone that I ever hung out with kept dying, I would be like, I know that Christine would be like, that's suspicious. Like, she loves me. She's my best friend. She's gonna be suspicious. People just start dying all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ugh, suspicious.
suspicious.
Okay. The testimonies state that victims were mostly adolescent daughters of local villagers lured by the promise that they would serve the countess in a well-paid position. She would move on to the daughters of nobles who came to the castle to learn etiquette. And she also kidnapped some girls, just because.
Fun.
So it's either you got a job or like you're here to learn how to be a noble or you just got kidnapped. Witnesses reported severe beatings, burnings, limb mutilations, biting, freezing, starvation. Elizabeth was said to have killed women all over the properties, with the exact number of victims ranging from 600 to 650 between the years 1585 and 1610.
Jeez.
Yeah. She had 17 villages. She had people.
I stress about managing one household.
I get why she was on the potions. I get it. She's managing 17 villages.
Too many.
I can't handle 4 dogs.
And they're needy.
Oh, God. The dogs and the villages.
And the villagers.
She had people in charge of getting girls and luring them to the property. She kept a list of women who were her victims as well as what she did to them. Note example. Blonde. She was small. She even picked up a girl while she was riding in a carriage and tortured her in the carriage, where she eventually died of pain. They would tell the family she was working as a servant in the castle. So then eventually there was a family that was out looking for her remains in the country, and they were only able to find her hand, I think.
Oh.
And her name was Jaina. And so in the notes that Elizabeth wrote, because she wrote about everybody, also, that's stupid, you idiot.
Honestly, yeah.
She wrote, Jaina, nice, but rebellious. She needed to be punished. Listen. I know, poor Jaina. She eventually became more careless, especially after the death of her husband. Once she was widowed, she began to leave more evidence of her crimes. Rain would wash away the dirt covering some of the bodies, or her own son-in-law's dog found a body, but the son-in-law was too scared to report it. Eventually, a group of students was even asked to bury some bodies because they were told that they were victims of plague, even though the bodies were mutilated. And they still did what they were told because it's like the Countess is telling you what to do. Like, that is the other thing, is like, what can you
gotta
do
listen
but
to her,
follow?
yeah.
Yeah. She also asked one of the laundresses to take out the floors of the room and bury several girls that she had killed. The laundress, Kata, did not have time to do it, so she just left the bodies under the bed, where they rotted, and the smell began to fill the castle. Sorry, Christina. Christina's doing a sweeping under the bed motion. Kata
My
said
mom
that's
told me to clean my room. I have to hurry.
I don't got the time. I
can't.
don't have the time.
There's too much.
What else do you have to do, though? You're like, I don't have time to hide these bodies for the
She
person I
had to
work
do the
for.
laundry. I
I
don't know
don't
what
know how to
laundry.
pick up flooring.
When you get
I know how to
behind
wash
on
clothes.
laundry, though, it's a fucking
Stressful.
feat to catch up.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
hard. I get it.
So Kata said that it was because some of the Countess's pets died. But the residents were like, we've never seen any of her pets. She doesn't have any pets. Christina. Like, what the fuck?
I just sit there. I'm not that stupid. Don't play with me.
She's like, it's her dog. Okay, well, I've never seen a dog in this.
So explain that.
Well, it's dead, so that's why you didn't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, eventually they buried the bodies. They took them out and they buried them.
Smart move.
Kata was often ordered to clean up the scene after Elizabeth was done with her shenanigans. She cleaned the floors, removed blood and bodies, cleaned Elizabeth's dresses, which, like, multi-use, like, multi-job girl, huh? She does it all.
Okay.
Fear
She
kept her
said,
from...
this lady is my laundry lady, so she know how to clean. She know how to get them stains out. She can...
She's
Perfect.
gonna work.
Yeah.
She has access to cleaning things. Perfect. So the reason that she followed orders was because Kata had 2 daughters that Elizabeth knew about. And Elizabeth would threaten her that her daughters would suffer if anyone found out about Elizabeth's stuff.
Yeah,
And so
aye,
she,
sir.
and she
You
was
know.
like, because her daughters live like at the border of the country, and she was like,
Mhm.
you think because they're far away that I can't get to them? I could say one thing and they show up immediately. And yeah,
I'd deck her in the face if I wasn't scared of her, you know?
yeah. When Elizabeth figured out she was under investigation, she began to take on measures to deter them. In August of 1610, she took a widowed woman to court with a letter stating that her daughter worked under the service of the Countess and just died of disease and not any violent reasons.
Sounds very specific.
I did
That's how
not
I
put
thought I
needles
was
in her skin.
like, okay. Elizabeth knew the investigation was taking place as well as what crime she was accused of. So she was like, this is how I get away from this.
That's
Yeah,
like
it's too
that's like
specific.
it's like when the person comes in, he sits down in front of the detective and he's like, I didn't bash the woman in the head with a hammer. And he's like, we didn't say anything about a hammer being there. Okay, dingaling.
Yeah.
Like,
Told on yourself.
I told Cody, I was like, I'm sorry I made you cry. I would do it again.
Yes.
He said it was great. Oh, good.
I know he's so supportive.
I know I love it. Thank
He's
you,
such a good
Cody.
brother.
Shout out.
Thanks, Cody. Thanks, brother.
Yes. Support. I love it. Although Elizabeth knew that the case was against her, she didn't leave the country. It would have been an easy escape for her because it was the 17th century. Literally nobody would find you if you didn't want them to. The internet does not exist. Nobody has
Mm-hmm.
a cell phone or a credit card. Just go. Take your jewelry and run.
Mm-hmm.
A noble person would have lots of connections and relatives for shelter. She did make attempts, but it wasn't like a full move. She just went from like one castle to another castle. Dumb. She traveled to another castle in October, but the roads became impractical because it was winter. She assumed nobody would come get her during the winter because the roads were blocked. Because winter.
Mm-hmm.
She also couldn't leave without the permission of the king without being accused of treason and sentenced to death in absentia. Her possessions would be claimed by the crown and all her heirs dishonored. So also, I'm sure she didn't want to lose her inheritance, like her kids' inheritance either. Because even if you don't like your kids, it's not about the kids, it's about like the lineage and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Her possessions would be claimed by the crown. Oh, yes. She was also a madwoman and her behavior was erratic, so maybe she just convinced herself that she could get away with anything and she was invincible. And I could see that. Like, if you have power and at this point you've gotten away with everything, why
Mm-hmm.
would you think you're gonna see any consequences for your actions?
Nothing's happened yet, so
hmm Eventually, after looking at all the evidence, they had to decide what to do with the Countess. Together with Elizabeth's son, Pal, that's his name. I'm sure there was another name, but Pal, Thurzo agreed on a trial followed by an execution. King Matthias of Hungary demanded she be sentenced to death to set an example. But also, they didn't want to bring shame over that respectable family. So, the Bathories were a ruling dynasty in Transylvania at the time. So, they wanted to send her to a nunnery and confine her to house arrest. Eventually, she was arrested on December 30th, 1610, along with 4 servants who were accused of being accomplices. Dravelina was one of them.
mm-hmm. I figured
Yeah, I mean, that was like her girl.
she was. Yeah, I was say she was doing everything too.
hmm When she was arrested, they found a dead girl in Elizabeth's castle and another one that was almost dead in the cellars. Thurzo really attempted to avoid a scandal. He claimed he caught the Countess in the act and had to arrest her for life imprisonment right there. But he did not mention any torture in the letter to the king in order to keep everything low key. Because if he mentioned torture, the king would have to say more than just like put her in jail for right now. And I think he would have like had to kill her, right then
Yeah.
and there.
Mm-hmm.
Thurzo managed to convince the king, who very much wanted to bring Elizabeth to justice, that killing the countess would affect all of the nobility, so we could not be doing that. And it was going to make them look bad, so he didn't want to. Literally, that's like one of the reasons repeated over and over again. The trial began in January of 1611, and the court was presided over by the judge Theodosius of the Royal Supreme Court and 20 associate judges. But the court case mostly focused on the accomplices, and Elizabeth was not even there. So they were just mostly talking about the servants.
Mm.
Until May of 1611, more and more testimonies were gathered from witnesses. One witness testimony states that the Countess would torture girls by thrusting hot iron bars into their bits, their genital areas, with other witnesses supporting these claims. Many claim that women suffered all kinds of injuries at the Countess's properties. One member of the local gentry confessed to getting poison for the Countess, and when the pharmacist questioned like why they would be getting this much, because it was enough to kill a large quantity of people. So she just like had poison, had a bunch of different things that she could do to kill people.
She was ready. It was a hobby.
She did what she wanted, you know? The Countess was even accused of cannibalism, allegedly. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Elizabeth made sausages
Allegedly.
out of the dead. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
80 people were found guilty and accused of having helped the Countess in her murders. 3, including Dravelina, were sentenced to death and executed immediately. They were executed using some of the same methods of torture the Countess used on her victims, which I think is fair,
Oh yeah.
including ripping fingers with hot tongs out of the hands, beheadings, and then burned at the stake. King Matthias requested again that Thurzo bring the Countess to court, and he refused, saying it would make the nobility look bad.
But like
Oh,
she made everybody look bad. Bring her ass here.
yeah, I know. So the thing was like the king really wanted to kill her, and Thurzo was like doing everything possible not to get her killed. But also King Matthias didn't want to make the Prince of Transylvania mad because his aunt was Elizabeth Bathory, so that was her nephew, the King of
Oh,
Transylvania, or the
I
Prince of
see.
Transylvania.
Hmm.
It put him in a weird political situation, and also like her family was very powerful even in Hungary at that time as well.
Yeah.
Eventually, King Matthias agreed based on the service Ferenc gave to the country and all the nuances of the situation to Thurzo's idea of life imprisonment. So they did decide on just imprisoning her for the rest of her life. She was
The
eventually
best that they could
tried.
do.
Yeah.
Oh,
She was tried and locked up in Kashthi Castle in a narrow tower without any windows, just holes for air and light. She was kept there for 4 years until her death in August 1614. The exact date is unknown because they found her dead on August 24th with just plates of uneaten food found all over the room. So she was dead in there, and there was just like a bunch of food everywhere because they were just pushing the food in, I guess. She was buried in the graveyard at a church, but the villagers protested and she was moved to her family crypt.
they said we don't want her here.
Yes.
We don't want her ass here. Don't bring
Hmm.
her here.
Which I don't blame them. I'd be
I
like, dude,
don't
this
either.
lady killed like 7 of our kids.
Yeah.
The legend of Elizabeth Bathory has been found throughout history, with various authors using her story as inspiration for horror stories, like throughout the ages. There's so many, there's like a whole chapter in this book of different books about Elizabeth Bathory, like throughout history. It is a fascinating story, only exacerbated by her connections to Transylvania, known for vampires and werewolves. Like, that area is just wild. The legend of Elizabeth Bathory has survived even into the 21st century when she was featured in the first episode of one of my favorite shows, Deadly Women, where they mentioned that the iron of the blood was probably what kept her young because she drank so much of it or used so much
Yeah.
of it. So, anyway, that is our story on Elizabeth Bathory. What did you guys think?
That was wild. I mean, like, I don't know, especially when it comes to like women in what am I trying to say? Like, I don't want to say in that power, but essentially, yeah. Because like a lot of the time I feel like when you hear about like women that are high up or that are like queens or whatever of something, right? You think of very like submissive woman, very composed woman, very, you're supposed to look a certain way and act a certain way and this, that, and the other thing. And it's normally the king that's, doing all the crazy stuff because he's calling the shots. And it's just crazy to see like a woman just kind of go like, honestly, like just be so unhinged.
instead of just like composed and standing behind her
Yeah,
husband
yeah,
and just being
standing,
quiet. Yeah.
not batting an eye, whatever he does is I have to
Hmm.
back him up on it. Like that's his
Yeah.
duty or whatever. Like, no, she was like, I mean, like Nev said, this is my hobby. This is what I like. So I'm gonna do it. Like,
That's literally
I'm,
the whole story. This is what I like, so this is what I'm gonna do.
yeah, like,
No other thoughts.
No thoughts, just
No,
empty.
just empty. I do what I want.
I had heard about her before. Like I actually there's a novel, like a little book I read as a kid about her. It was like one of those like I don't know, like a little diary of her life or whatever. And it was like a servant that it like the book I think was about a servant. I don't know. I read about it as a kid, as a teenager, and her story has kind of stuck with me. And so I was like, oh, what a good topic for this week's episode for Halloween, October, spooky times.
You picked a good one.
yeah, that
I
was a really good one.
I thought it was great. I was like, this is perfect.
Because
And
I've never heard about her. So that was really,
I thought she's unhinged the whole thing. Well, and it's interesting because then some people are like, no, we need to clear her name. So who knows? If I find out any facts about her, but it is so hard because it was so long ago. So like we don't even know like really what year she was born. So how could we even know what's real and what isn't? But that is why I like the source because it was like multiple different sources from throughout the ages of like what we know about her.
yeah,
So it wasn't just like one person saying, "Oh, we're just gonna follow
this
this
is what
guy."
happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I really liked it. So,
Yeah, that's
but
super interesting.
yes, thank you. As always, thank you, our listener, for joining us on another episode of Sip and Saga Society. If you have any histories, mysteries, or stories you think should be told, feel free to DM us on Instagram or Facebook at sipandsaga_society or visit our website at sipandsaga.com. We also take drink recommendations because I'm always down for a good beverage. Bo show. But anywho, thank you for joining us. Bye.
Woo, bye.
Bye.